fact of the matter is our two parties are private corporations. I don't think most Americans realize they do not answer to we voters. They answer to their officers, the de facto leaders of each party, of course, in this case, former President Trump, current President Biden, the chairman and CEO. They can do what they want, Greta. And I think so many watching right now have probably had a family member or a mother, father, grandparent aging and having to have those tough conversations, not usually with our president. And, he did the right thing.
Did he really? Let's be honest for a second. Biden said for weeks he was going to continue in the debate. He waited until 4 months before the election to drop out. The primary was pretty much completed. Do you really think Biden did the right thing? Waiting this long? Maybe if he had dropped out after the first debate, I could accept this argument. But he said for weeks after he was going to continue.
But we all know how rare it is in human history, let alone American history, for people to give up power willingly. George Washington did it. It was the first time, I think, in history that someone gave up their commission when they had accrued so much power. So it's an unusual night, and I just hope everybody watching, no matter what you think of both of these guys, they're humans, they're fathers, they're husbands, and it's not an easy task, and it's an opportunity for us to all reflect on the presidency, not the red or the blue elements.
This idea that Joe Biden gave up power freely and willingly is a joke. We have the report saying he was threatened with the 25th Amendment. We have the threats from the donor saying they're going to cut his funding. The only thing you could say is Biden basically had the decision in the bag unless the donors turned on him at the last second at the convention. But that would have caused more damage than just letting him stay in and go up against Trump 1-to-1.
He was pushed out. This does not seem to be his decision. And one of the things that's bothered me as a journalist is that he has not been particularly transparent. We've not had access to him, so we've never been certain as to how he is.
And Greta, that was my message over a year ago. July of 2022, I said he shouldn't run again. He declared his candidacy in April of 23. That summer, I called publicly for others to join the primary. I made private calls to some governors to jump in. And I called on my party to host a legitimate open primary, to promote candidates, not suppress them.
But they didn't hold an open primary. Their primary system was so corrupt, RFK dropped out and started running as an independent. Okay, maybe this guy was running around saying, oh, we need an open primary. Oh, we need to replace Biden. But no one listened to him. Let's be honest, until the debate, no one listened to this man.
That was my way of trying to do this sooner. I knew this was a conversation we were going to have at some point. It wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when. So it saddens me that it took this long in this fashion, especially a man, no matter your politics, he served the country beautifully, I think, for 50 years. And it's kind of a sad way to end one's tenure, and I hope tonight we all take a moment and reflect on that.
I don't get this idea that Joe Biden served the community with grace and dignity for the last 50 years. Let's look at his two major accomplishments. One, he slandered Clarence Thomas.
I'm getting fed up with this stuff about how terrible this system is. We're big boys. I knew when I ran for president, everything was free game. Anybody who runs for the Supreme Court or is appointed to the Supreme Court, to be more precise, should understand. This is not Boy Scouts. It's not Cub Scouts. In the case of the president, it's for the right to be leader of the free world, and no one ever said it would be easy. And whoever goes in the Supreme Court is going to determine the fate of this country more than anybody. For the next 20 years, we're going to have people scrupulous and unscrupulous.
Two, his second greatest accomplishment is the 94 crime bill. And do you know what that's famous for? Take a guess.
I'm not sorry for anything that I have ever done. Gave me permission.
At least I understood the cult of Obama. Okay, he was a good speaker. And for whatever you want to say about him, he knew how to rile up a crowd, at least for the first 6 years. Joe Biden has never been able to do this. In 50 years, whether he was running as a senator, a vice president, and even as president, there has never been real support behind Biden. Let's be honest, the only reason Biden won the election in 2020 is because people didn't like Trump. It had nothing to do with liking Biden. They were willing to vote for anyone. They could put a turd sandwich, and the Democrats would still vote for it at this point. There are so many times where they just lie to your face and people don't care because they got the story, either in the title or in the 15-second clip that is attached to the video.
The Democratic Party, though, it doesn't particularly have rules, apparently, on selecting the nominee now. And, of course, you ran, and what I've said tonight on the air is that you actually have delegates. You were voted for in the primary. Vice President Kamala Harris wasn't in the primary. You have more delegates than she has.
Fact of the matter is our two parties are private corporations. I don't think most Americans realize they do not answer to we voters. They answer to their officers, the de facto leaders of each party, of course, in this case, former President Trump, current President Biden, the chairman and CEO. They can do what they want, Greta.
Boom. This was never about democracy. This is about a company and its shareholders deciding the path it would like. These people have no intention of doing anything that would hurt their power. They will only give you the bare minimum and the bare scraps to get you to keep voting for blue no matter who. People need to wake up to this fact. The two-party system is broken, but it is especially corrupt on the Democrat side. Like, this isn't the first time this happened. This happened to Bernie Sanders in 2016 too. It was one of the major reasons why I stopped supporting Democrats, even though I had been on my walk-away path for quite some time. These people think they know what's better for you, so they will decide the candidate. And even if you all voted for Joe Biden, if they decide Joe Biden isn't going to be the candidate, he's not going to be the candidate. First, they threatened him with the 25th Amendment, and here's Chuck Schumer refusing to admit it.
Senator, on July 13th, you went to Delaware to meet with President Biden. It was a private discussion, and I know you like to keep your discussions with the president private, but that, for history, was a very momentous meeting, in the sense of you were the Senate Democratic leader, the majority leader, meeting with the president to discuss the presidential race. For history, for the record, did you in any way suggest to the president that he should leave the presidential race on July 13th?
Well, first, let's look at President Biden's record. He's had one of the most amazing presidencies we've had in decades, passing so many good things. The infrastructure bill, the IRA bill, getting the price of prescription drugs down for the first time, going against the NRA successfully, helping our veterans with burn pits. So he's had an amazingly successful record. And he's always done what's right for America. And I respect him. I respect his patriotism. I respect the amazing things he's done. We worked together on many of them.
But just for history, though, what was your role, what was your intention with that meeting with him on July 13th?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but President Biden will walk away from the presidency with his head held high because of all the great things he's done and because he put America first. He always has.
And then basically, if he hadn't dropped out and they couldn't have got him on the 25th Amendment, they would have just screwed him over during the convention. The only reason they didn't do that is because they knew if they did it at the convention, there would be even more serious issues due to the lack of time for people to be able to run, and the issue that there would probably be a split convention. In other words, it would cause more damage to remove Biden during the convention than to force him out using the 25th Amendment.
And if anything, after this election, I intend to dedicate some time to both learning about how this works, why it doesn't work so well, and at least shining some light on the truth, because the fact of the matter is, no matter what the rules are, they can change them at the moment's notice, and they do regularly.
Come on, man.
Disappointed!
They are stealing the primary for Camilla. She has 0 votes. All of her support, from what we understand, is fake. She couldn't get past the first round in the 2020 election. She's apparently, up until last week, she was less popular than Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was hovering in the 30s. The idea that Camilla all of a sudden went from one of the least popular people in America to actually being as popular as they're trying to claim she is?
Fiction. It's an urban legend that never happened. No way. We got you. Not a chance. Not this time. It never happened. It never happened. We made this one up. It's fiction. We made up this one. We made it up. Not this time. Wrong. Not this time. Not this time. You're wrong. Not this time. It never happened.
That just doesn't exist.
You know, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes every night. I mean, many of us wondered, what is the family saying to him? And I just couldn't figure out why he stayed in so long, because that debate was quite an eye-opener for a lot of people.
And it was, again, my intention was to have that debate, at least in a primary setting, many, many months before. I'd seen that decline. My colleagues had seen that decline.
Why didn't anybody speak up, though? Because we didn't have access to him.
Well, I'll be forthright. First, I saw this disease, the culture of silence, the disease of silence. I saw it first amongst my Republican colleagues during Trump's presidency. Many of them would excoriate him privately and then get in front of the cameras and just count the blessings and tell people how much they loved him and supported him. And then I saw the same thing on my side, where people would express concern about his abilities and his decline privately and then get in front of the cameras and say everything's fine. But that's part of the reward system in Congress. We are rewarded for being cowards and punished for being courageous. And that's how this game works. You want to keep your seat, you want to ascend the leadership ladder, you want to run for Senate or president someday, you got to play the game. You got to stay in line, you got to be part of the team. That's not what this entire country was founded on. It's just the opposite.
So they just admitted they're going to do the exact same thing as Trump if it's to their political benefit. I'm sorry, but why is anyone voting Democrat again? But if they're willing to do the exact same thing as the Republicans to win, where is this moral superiority before Trump?
I ran against him because I saw the decline. I did not think he would be in a position to serve ably for another term. But I will say this, I have not seen evidence of a cognitive impairment. I've seen his gait change, I've seen his ability to communicate decline, clearly not able to do so like he used to be. If I'd seen any semblance of someone who I thought was unable to prosecute the job of president, believe me, if anybody on my side of the aisle would say something, it would be me. I've not seen that. And if I do, I will. His term ends in 6 months. I do not expect him to stand down from the office. And frankly, I've not seen any evidence as to why he should.
And there you go. This guy is a shill. We all know what we saw during the debate, and now he's saying he sees no cognitive decline. Then why couldn't he run for another 4 years? These people, this is not about what's right for the country. If this was what was right for the country, for the United States, Biden would have been removed with the 25th Amendment. It would not have been a debate. It would not have been a promise. Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats would have went to the Republicans and said, this is dangerous. This man needs to be removed.
If I were smart, I'd go home now.
While Camilla might not be the best choice in the world, she's had the same cognitive decline for the last 20 years. Nothing's going to change for a while.
Can be unburdened by what has been.
Remember Venn diagrams, those 3 circles? Right. And then let's just see where they overlap.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
Like, these people are crazy. I don't understand how you can claim to hate the orange man while at the same time voting for the crazy man. It's just sad what this has come to. He admits it's pure tribalism, and then what does he do 15 seconds later? Pure tribalism. Now let's be clear, this is not the only Democrat admitting to this right now, but here's another example.
I had private conversations with the president, and I'm a big believer that when you care about somebody, you tell them the truth. And I had private conversations where I was telling the president the truth. I also know that the president deserved better than people running around and going into public and demanding that the president of the United States step down.
But you said you told him the truth. What was the truth?
Well, I think the truth that there were real concerns. There were real concerns that I know that people had felt, but also that people were telling me that they had felt. I also know that, I'm a loyalty person. And I believe that you can have proper conversations and tell people the truth and be able to tell them what you're hearing without also then turning around and publicly then trying to embarrass them.
Okay, Governor.
Maybe we shouldn't lie to our voters anymore. Maybe we shouldn't pretend we're having an open primary when actually, if we don't like who they choose, we're going to pick somebody else anyways.